So how do we get that to transfer to that? Well, like your teacher always says, we are back on the Lotus today, which should be a string of multiple Lotus videos. We are today working on the plate to transfer those two motors over to this transaxle. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this plate that's going to go right there, so we can mount it to a plate that will be on those two motors, and those two plates will essentially just come together and get the output shaft that you can kind of see there in the video to mate up with that, with this clutch that we have put together. And on that note, with this clutch, we have the Lotus original clutch inside. And what we've done is to get the adapter here, we switched over to a more prevalent manufacturer out there, and that's not Citroen, it's actually a Nissan. I think it's the L24 clutch transmission or engine. And what it is, you know, we've got this flywheel pressure plate from the Nissan, which we can already buy off the shelf, in a way, kind of off the shelf from Canada. A bracket here, an adapter here that attaches to this flywheel, instead of fabricating a flywheel adapter that will fix the Lotus one, which we're going to need a new clutch or a new flywheel and pressure plate anyways. So we're going over to just something that's a little more available than the Citroen. But what I did was the clutch off the Citroen was a 9.5 inch. Found another 9.5 inch out there doing some research. The Nissan L24 worked out perfectly. So that is what we have here. So once we get that adapter in, we'll attach this flywheel and clutch and everything to that. But to do that and attach it all, we need to build these brackets. So let's do that. So to get started with this plate, I'm just going to take my calipers here, and we're just going to measure these lengths from center to center. So center of this input shaft to the transaxle to center of this hole where the bolt was going to come over and attach to the plate that we're building. We've got all these all the way around here. I'm going to get all these, and these will, build all these lines coming out of the center. But then, as I go to each hole, I'm going to get these measurements from here to here, to here to here, on all centers all the way around. And we'll kind of get that picture frame of the center marks. And these lines will then coincidence with these lines, and each of these spots, should come around, so that way when I'm getting all the way around here and I've got one set left, these should work out. I should have these last couple marks match when I get down there, and that's how I know I've gotten all my earlier ones done correctly. And of course, we'll cut it out on the machine and make sure it all lines up before we do it on the final piece. But that's just where you got to get started. So here you can kind of see I've got halfway around now. I've got these lines up around here, and then the lines come out of the center. And I'll get the other half all the way back around, and then I'll add circles here on these coincidence marks where my bolt holes are going to go. And you can see this picture's not lining up, but because the picture was taken from one viewpoint, if I take the camera up here, over here, or over here, it's going to lopside it's just going to mess up the trajectory of these lines. So the reason I take the picture is just to kind of give me a rough idea. When I'm taking a line out here, I'll take it past, what I'll do is I'll start dead center, and I'll take it past this, and then I'll type in my measurement that I took from there, and it'll bring it down to whatever it is. It's just kind of something just to help get a rough estimate and kind of just see what it looks like on there. And then of course when I'm done, I can clean it up take off the picture, and it's kind of a cool little feature. All right, the moment of truth, the first cut. A couple things I want to note out first is we got a little thin material down here from the bolt hole and the outside, kind of perimeter. So I'm going to add a little more material there. But the most important part is obviously the holes lining up, so we're going to try that out right now. And to do that, my top and bottom hole were dead line center. So I'm going to get those lined up where they need to be, as you can see there. And then from there, I'm just going to kind of look around and see where we're at. Some holes line up like dead perfect, especially these bottom ones and this one here. But there's a few here and there that are going to need a little bit of adjustment. And I'll just mark that up on here. But really good first cut. I'm very happy with this. I'll mark it up and we'll adjust it in the computer, recut it, and we will try test number 2. But this is thin material. This is not what we're going to be using on the final product. And with as expensive as material is, I'm using this thinner stuff now because it's a lot cheaper for my test cuts. And we'll use something much thicker, much more expensive for the final piece. So very happy with it.